Hi everyone, welcome back to another video and welcome here. If you are new, my name's Charlotte and today I woke up in such an incredibly positive mood. Today felt like it was going to be a really good day, and I think that is because I can feel spring is in the air. I've even got daffodils. In fact, I've had these daffodils for just over a week and they are wilting a little bit, so I have got a couple of fresh bunches this morning. We popped out to the shop this morning to get some bits to make a nice breakfast, and I also got some more daffodils, and I'm loving that daffodils are 95p a bunch because that's a very affordable way to have fresh spring flowers in the house, and sadly I don't have any growing in my garden that I can just cut and bring in, so that was a little treat to myself this week and last week. And to be quite honest, it's not the greatest day outside. It's really grey and cloudy, but I still woke up in such a good mood. I slept incredibly well. I got over 9 hours sleep, which I think just shows that my body was probably a little bit run down and tired, but I really woke up with like spring in the air and really positive. And that got me thinking about a video I saw on YouTube by one of the creators that I follow in January, which was all about making New Year's resolutions. And as I watched that video, I was thinking to myself, I find it really difficult to make New Year's resolutions in January in the middle of winter, because if we're being honest here, I do get a little bit down in the dumps in those darker months. So for me, with spring on the horizon, and we're right on the cusp of it now, this feels like spring, feels like this awakening of the new year for me. And even though it's not the new calendar year, for me to be in the headspace of goal making now rather than in January is so much more fitting, because I really sort of wake up and come out in excitement and readiness for spring. And that got me thinking again about goals and how my goals are different. I feel like the things I want now are different and the things I'm drawn to are different. And I've been noticing recently that I simply do not want the same things that I used to. The goals I had starting way back in my teens all the way through my 20s have changed. And in a way that's really good, but it's also quite scary, which is why it was a topic I wanted to talk about, because anyone else going through a similar thing might also find it quite scary. That everything I thought was my dream for all of those years, everything I worked so hard for to get me where I am today, simply does not inspire me in the same way I thought it would. And obviously when you've got this big goal, or many goals, these dreams, and you're chasing your dreams, it almost feels like part that you should be enjoying the process, and if you do come to achieve those goals, then that should be really fulfilling. And it's not quite worked out that way, which is why I think for a lot of people it can be really scary when everything you've worked for is suddenly like, it's not really the goal anymore, it's not really the dream. And as I said, it's kind of like you start lacking the inspiration and you become disenchanted with this old dream, but now you've got new ones, new goals and new dreams. But what about when they're drastically different to what the original plan was? And that's an idea I want to unpick a bit today. Charlotte, before her 30s, worked incredibly hard at school and through university, and then into work, into creating a long-lasting professional career. I was always chasing, first of all, grades, and then it was things like my reputation at work, to chase things like pay rises and promotions and things like that. And don't get me wrong, they were very worthwhile things to strive for. They were my goals at the time. They inspired me and they motivated me and they led to those small successes, and they were a really important part of the journey that got me where I am here today. And that idea of chasing pay rises and earning more money really fed into a different sort of lifestyle that I was living back then, or was aiming to live back then, which was a lot more materialistic. I used to love material things. I still do to some extent, but definitely not to the same extent. I liked designer brands and I liked shopping as a hobby. I liked high-end makeup and spent loads of money on hair care and skincare products. I liked to go out and eat in fancy restaurants, the fancier the better, and go on holidays. Back then it genuinely bothered me that I didn't have a nice car, and to this day I still never have. And I was particular about things like the size of my home and what other people would think of me because of those material things. And I think it's worth adding here that at that time those things made me happy. It wasn't that that sort of lifestyle made me miserable. I liked that phase of my life. I enjoyed that that was the person I was at that time. And for many people, those will be the sort of things that bring them happiness. I don't consider it bad that that was the version of myself I once was, and I have no regrets for the life I've lived up until this point now. It's just not where my heart lies anymore. Now my goals are different. I don't have a single goal that is related to earning a new qualification, getting a promotion at work, or even a pay rise. It's no longer my goal to drive a flashy car or have a huge home. I don't want a wardrobe full of hundreds of clothes. I don't want high-end brands. I don't want expensive makeup. And I could continue going on with all those things I used to want that I don't want anymore, or some of the things that I just want less of in my life, or they're just not a priority anymore in my life. My main goals now are to do with my life at home, my relationships, my faith, having time freedom, and doing things that both bring and protect my peace. Any goals I have relating to my career don't necessarily equal promotion or pay rise. At my work at the minute, I'm feeling very much in a position where I'm ready to try something different. Different roles interest me, still within my same field, and I have been playing with the idea of whether it's worth going ahead and having that conversation at work about how I would like to explore other avenues and see what opportunities are available. I want things to keep me driven and inspired at work, but I also want to maintain balance because I'm not willing to take on more at the expense of becoming really stressed. And my goals with career over the longer period, I feel, are going to come from exploring other avenues and having the luxury of being able to work to a more flexible schedule. As I've said, I want to spend more time at home and less time out of it. I want to be a good partner, a better partner, and keep growing in that role. And I want to have more time to pursue my hobbies and do the things I love. For me, that means more time in the kitchen, more time in the garden, painting, reading, exploring the parks and woodlands. I love being outside, I love walking, and I want to be able to spend more time horse riding and shooting and doing all of those things I love. And all of that comes with, I think, slowing down and stepping back a little bit and giving more time for ourselves. And another big part of this, I mentioned it at the very start of this video, is I woke up this morning feeling so refreshed after over 9 hours sleep because my body just needed it. I want my body to feel rested and healed most of the time, not just when I can have this treat lie-in on a Saturday morning. And as well, I want my mind to feel at peace. Which, coming back to the idea of New Year's resolutions and setting goals, and for me feeling like that is so much more impactful if done at the start of spring, the awakening of the new season. For me, it just feels like winter is the slow end of the year, and even though the calendar doesn't agree with me, spring feels like the new fresh start, where I feel like it's going to be more meaningful and probably more purposeful to set goals then. So with that in mind, and with this new clarity of what we want our life to look like moving forward, Tom and I have got plans we're sort of mulling these ideas over in our heads and spending a lot of time speaking out loud about what we would like and what we are thinking about aiming towards. But we're going to sit down in the coming weeks and sort of put our goals together into a 5 and into a 10-year plan, so we know what we're working towards and we have a bit of a strategy towards working to finding that peace. I'd be really interested to know in the comments what you think about this idea of setting your goals in the springtime more so than for the 1st of January. I don't know if it's just me that sort of struggles in the darkness to have that inspiration and motivation. And so the very start of the year is just a bit of a, like the end before coming out anew, like I said. Let me know what you think, and if you're open to it, feel free to share some of your slowing down and simple living, protecting your peace and those sorts of goals with me. It's always nice to hear what other people are getting up to. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I will see you in another one very soon. Until next time, God bless, take care.